I will definitely need to do another layer on all the flowers. Well, especially the roses. And here I've added some daisies, which are going to be white daisies, but just started them off with that yellowy orange mixture. And I'm going to wait for the vase to dry before I add that layer. And even the background, which is lovely, I really like the way it's turned out. I can see the canvas through it, so I think it needs another layer. Normally I put down the white before I add, and I let it dry before I add the colour. But this time I put down the white and then I added the colour over it while it was still wet, so it seems a bit transparent. And it looks fine on a photograph, but if you close up, you can see the canvas, so I don't want that. So first I'm going to start with just the roses, adding a little tip of white to the roses. And I'll blend that in afterwards. I don't want it to be pink, I want it to show that it's white popping up at the top. So that might also need another layer. And then I'm going to do the white on the daisies. Again, leaving a little of the edge, a little of the colour, just to give it that contrast. Especially with this light background, you might not see it at all. I decided to see if I could add the white layer again, because it is dry. Obviously the red is not dry, but that layer I will add later. That came out a little bit creamier than I anticipated. And that'll just save me one more day of waiting. So then tomorrow I'll be able to finish it, which will be great. You can see I've added the daisies, and they're, for the most part, looking nice. But it seems like I completely obliterated the background colour, which wasn't the intention. So we'll see how they dry. I decided, since the vase is dry, I might as well add another layer of red over that, which I did just with my angled brush again and a lot of oil. And I just took it from the outside to the center of the vase like that. I'm not taking it all the way, not taking the color all the way, I just took the oil all the way. So it kind of leaves the stalks showing through. And I'll just put a bit more oil on my brush, and then I'll do it again. Just take it all the way over. And so that shows that it is a painted vase, but it's slightly transparent, as most glass is. You would see the colour, you would see something showing through. I'll see how that dries. And then I just have to do another layer of red around the roses, and maybe another layer around the background. I really don't want to mess up the background, but I just feel I can't leave it as it is. Yesterday I added another layer of white, the yellowy creamy white, to the petals, and I think it's more or less dry now. Well, the red is dry, but it's hard to say if the white is dry for sure. But anyway, I'm going to add another layer of the vermilion red now, and to make sure that it comes out in the right shade of red, I have made sure my brush is dry with little to no oil on it. And you can see that this colour is really pretty, but it's nowhere near the colour that's come out on the canvas. So hopefully the second layer will do it. And again, I will use the brush, the filbert brush, by pushing it down and then turning it slightly over and bringing it down, to give that look of the little lines that go into the white. So it's not one smooth line. Okay, I've got paint on the brush, but not on the tip. So just a bit more. I'll go up there because in my previous video I tried to record this and it didn't, my previous segment, it didn't come up because I'm standing now, and so it might enlarge the petals a little. But that's okay because I left room for that possibility. So I think that's going to come out nicer. The word I was looking for was striations. Okay, so you can see there's little striations of red, and I wanted to be sure that they would come out red and not pink. Although, obviously there's a bit of pinkiness about them because they are going into the white. And so losing their strength a little, but certainly it's looking better now as it's drying. So the more tricky part is going to be the central part. Anyway, this is the way I'm spending my afternoon before New Year's Eve. And I couldn't be happier. It's just where I love to be painting. And I think it's wise to stay off the streets anyway. Whichever country you live in, people get a bit, they lose their marbles a bit, drinking and whatever, partying, and hardly worth risking your life for. And there's so much going on anyway. The red is looking much prettier now, much more the rosy colour that I wanted and that I've seen. But the vase is still a bit too close to the colour of the roses. So I'm taking another layer of cadmium red deep and I'm just doing the edges of the vase with some oil on the brush. And then I will drag it across. So I'll do that all the way around and making sure I don't mess up the outline of my vase because it's so easy to do. And so difficult to get it correct again. So I'll do that. I need to hold the canvas steady with one hand. I'm working back in my room that I've designated as my studio, and as you can see it's just full of paintings, and I'm using this large easel so I can actually stand and paint. It's easier than sitting down, and I was kind of messing up my lounge a bit. The vase is looking better now with the extra layer of red. And now I'm going to take a very large, well it's not the largest, but it's the largest I've got, a size 6 filbert brush. And I'm going to do the background. So you can see there I have picked up a bit of all the colours. Now I'm picking up a bit more white, and with this filbert brush I'm putting it down the same as I do with the roses and just covering the canvas with the paint wherever I can. I won't go all the way into the flowers and the leaves, obviously that will be a bit too tricky, but I just need to redo this back part of it. It really doesn't look well covered, and with a smaller brush I might drag some of it in between there. And it's a very pretty colour, I didn't want to lose it, but I think another layer will definitely improve it a bit. I want this side to be darker and that side to be slightly lighter. I need a bit more red on my brush for down here, and a bit more white, a bit more yellow. And so I hope I will be able to just recreate that same background that I had before, but just with another layer. There, I've put another layer on the background, and I think it looks just as pretty as before. And while doing so, I smudged this one petal, and I noticed that even though I had put a second layer of the vermilion on that rose, it still looked pinkish rather than red. So I took the cadmium red deep and medium actually, and I put a layer of that around, and now I think it looks better. So I don't know what the cause of that was, but now with my angled brush I'm going to put just a little bit of white as a highlight in places here and there, if I can do it without smudging, because although I do like the creamy yellow, I do want a bit of contrast with the white. So I'll do that and then I'll bring you back. That concludes my painting. I went back and added a few more leaves, added a bit more white to the daisies where they had become sort of greyish green, and added more highlights of white to the roses. And I added a little touch of white with my finger to the center of the vase, so that just to show that the light is catching the vase there. Whether it will stay there, I don't know. I don't want to smudge it too much because then it will turn pink, and I don't want that. So I'm very happy with the colours, and it was difficult adding the second layer, especially going in between, but I used the same filbert brush. And where I smudged here and there, I just let it blur, or I went over it with a smaller brush afterwards. But I had to do it that way because I had to make sure that the roses were white in the petals. If there was another colour under them, they just would never have reached that sort of beauty of the white and the red distinctly and separate from each other. So whenever I'm painting a light colour, I don't like to put a background under it, unless I want the background to show through. But in this case, I really didn't. So I think that's the best way to do it, and I'm very happy with the result. So if you liked it, please like and comment and subscribe and let me know what you think. I'd love to hear from my viewers. So bye for now, and Happy New Year. So I know it's a bit late, but better late than ever. Bye for now.